The streets of Varos 9 were always dangerous after dark. Neon lights flickered. Steam hissed from broken vents. Shadows moved even when nothing was there. It was a city built by aliens, run by criminals, and now crawling with bounty hunters. And, somewhere in those shadows, a human named Rhett Vale was hiding. His back pressed to a cold metal wall, his breath slow. He had one pistol, half a charge, and a bounty so high that half the planet wanted him dead. Wanted. Rhett Vale, 700,000 credits, dead or alive. The posters were everywhere, on walls, drone screens, and even bouncing on market vendors' holotags. He didn't know who put the bounty on him. He just knew it was personal. 3 nights ago, Rhett had been part of a special ops team. Secret mission, high risk, high reward. Then everything went wrong. He woke up in the dirt, bleeding, surrounded by the bodies of his own squad. No backup, no signal. Just a gun in his hand and an order in his earpiece. You never saw this, Vale. Now run. He did. Now the hunter had become the prey. He moved through the narrow alleys, eyes sharp. He didn't trust anyone, not the silent shopkeepers, not the smiling androids, not even the children asking for credits. Anyone could sell him out. He'd already seen 2 bounty hunters today. He shot one. The other ran, but he knew someone else was out there. Someone better. Her name was Commander Nira, cold-blooded, sharp-eyed, fast trigger. She was part of the Vraxin species, tall, lean, with skin like armor and eyes that glowed faint blue. She had hunted criminals across 5 systems. Her success rate? 100%. And she had just arrived on Varos 9. From the rooftop above, Nira crouched, one hand on her sniper rifle. Her eyes scanned the alley below. The human was smart. He didn't stay. Still, changed clothes, changed routes. Never used the same street twice, but she was patient. She watched him for 3 hours before moving. Now she was ready. Rhett ducked into a supply shed and checked his gun. 1 shot left. Great. He heard footsteps. Not close, but careful. Measured. Not a drunk. Not a cop. Hunter. He backed against the wall, ready to strike. But before he could move, he heard a click behind his ear. Nice hiding spot. A calm voice said. Female. Cold. Confident. Any last words, human? Rhett slowly raised his hands. He turned just enough to see her. Tall. Black armor. Rifle on her back. Sidearm pointed at his head. Nira, she was even scarier up close. He smirked. Yeah, I got one. She raised an eyebrow. Make it count. Rhett nodded toward her gun. Your safety's on. Nira blinked. Her eyes dropped. Just for a second. It was enough. Rhett twisted, slammed his shoulder into her chest, and knocked the gun sideways. They crashed into crates. Her shot went wild. He rolled, grabbed her dropped pistol, but didn't shoot. He pointed it at her, breathing hard. She was already getting up fast, furious. You should have run, she growled. And missed the look on your face? He said. She stared at him. Why didn't you shoot? He paused. Because I don't kill people who haven't pulled the trigger yet. She narrowed her eyes. But I will. He tossed the pistol aside. Good, he said. Then you'll hear me out before you do. Silence. Tension thick in the air. 2 killers, face to face. One with nothing left to lose, the other not sure why she hadn't pulled the trigger yet. Above them, unseen, a small surveillance drone blinked to life. Someone was watching, recording, waiting. This was just the beginning. The standoff didn't last long. The moment Rhett dropped the pistol, Nira moved like lightning. She kicked the weapon away and slammed him into the wall, her arm pressing into his throat. Her strength was inhuman, her eyes, cold and calculating, locked onto his. You don't get to surrender, human, she hissed. You run, I chase. You fight, I win. That's how this works. Rhett choked out a smile. Funny. You forgot. The part where I turned the tables. His knee shot upward. Nira grunted as it hit her side, just under the armor plates. She staggered back half a step, enough for Rhett to twist free and shove her into a pile of crates. Wood splintered. She hit hard. He didn't wait. He ran, down the alley, across the old market, past broken neon lights and crates full of rotting fruit. His breath was rough, his legs screamed. But his mind was clear. Nira was fast, but he was faster when desperate, and right now he was very desperate. Behind him, Nira rose from the wreckage. Her eyes narrowed, her breathing steady. She liked the chase. She pressed her wrist console. Target. Evading, engaging on foot. Activate perimeter lock, no air exit. The drone above hummed louder. Streets ahead began to seal. Rhett turned a corner and stopped. A dead end. A cold wall of steel blocked the exit. He turned to go back. Nira stepped into view, gun raised. Fun's over, she said calmly. You almost got away. He looked up. The buildings were too high, too slick to climb. No way out. He raised his hands. All right, you got me. She stepped closer. I always do. Rhett's eyes scanned the walls, a vent, just behind her. If he could distract her. You ever wonder, he said, why they put a bounty that big on me? No, she said, because I don't care. You should, because they lied to you. Nira didn't blink. They always lie. Then why work for them? She stepped closer, gun still aimed. Because lying pays better than dying. He raised an eyebrow. So? What's my bounty? Worth to you? 700,000. Dead. You sure it's worth your life? That made her pause. What did you steal? Rhett's smile faded. I didn't steal anything. I survived something I wasn't supposed to. A long silence. Her gun didn't lower, but she didn't fire. Not yet. Then he spoke again. You want to know why I let you live back there? Because you're soft. No, he said quietly. Because I used to be you. Her eyes narrowed. Explain. I hunted people, took jobs, asked no questions until one day, I killed someone innocent and the ones who sent me? They smiled. She didn't move. He kept talking, so I walked away. And now, I'm the one they hunt. Nira didn't speak, not for a long moment. Then, click. Her gun powered down. 10 seconds, she said. That's all you get to disappear. After that, if I see you again, no talking, just bullets. Rhett stared at her. Deal. He dashed toward the side, leaped for the vent, pulled himself up. Gone. Nira stood alone in the alley. She looked at the wall where he vanished, then whispered to herself, why did I let him go? Above them, the drone buzzed silently. A new voice came through her earpiece. Commander Nira, target escaped. Orders? She replied calmly. Tracking disabled. I lost him. Confirmation. You failed? She didn't answer, just looked up at the stars and said, for now. Far across the city, Rhett climbed through the vent into an old warehouse. He collapsed against the wall, coughing. His ribs hurt, his legs shook, but he was still breathing, and that meant he still had a chance. He looked out a broken window toward the burning sky of Varos 9. She didn't pull the trigger, he whispered. And for the first time in days, he smiled. The warehouse was silent, but Rhett didn't relax. He had seen enough double crosses to know when peace was fake. This felt too easy, too quiet. He leaned against a rusted beam, catching his breath, watching the shadows like they were alive. Wind pushed through broken glass panels above. Dust swirled on the floor. The air smelled like oil, metal, and old blood. Rhett's hand stayed on his pistol. One bullet. That was it. He had escaped Nira. But something told him. He hadn't really escaped. 2 levels above, behind a hanging sheet of plastic, a pair of yellow eyes watched him. The creature didn't move. Didn't blink. It just waited. Rhett tapped his old communicator. Static, no signal. Not surprising. He scanned the space for an exit. There, an old door behind stacked crates. As he stepped toward it, something creaked. Not the wind, not the floor. Something alive. He spun. too late. A shape dropped from the ceiling. He rolled, barely dodging the sharp claw that tore through the floor where his head had been. The attacker stood. Tall, armored, ugly. Not Nira. Not human. Not even Vraxen. It was a Sandic Reaper. Bounty hunters used them when they didn't want the target to talk afterward. No questions, no noise, just death. Rhett drew his pistol and fired. Click. He cursed. Empty. He threw it hard, hitting the Reaper's eye. It roared, but didn't fall. Rhett ran. He dove over crates, kicked down a door and found himself in a tunnel. Dark, narrow, dripping with pipe water. But at least he was alive. Behind him, the Reaper smashed through the wall. It was faster than, he thought. He had seconds. He sprinted through the tunnel, breathing hard, boots splashing. Then, a light. A figure. Someone stood at the tunnel's end, facing him. Gun raised. Not the Reaper. Not a stranger. It was Nira. Rhett skidded to a stop. You, again? He panted. Let me guess, you regretted sparing me? She didn't answer. She lifted her weapon. His heart sank. Then, she fired. The shot blew past his shoulder. He turned. The Reaper behind him screeched as the round hit its throat. It staggered. Nira fired again. This time, its skull. The creature dropped, silent and still. Rhett stared in shock. You followed me. She walked closer. You led me. Why save me? She looked him in the eyes. Because someone else was watching us. She tapped her wrist console and showed him a playback, drone footage, their entire fight. Her hesitation, his escape, everything was recorded. Someone's setting us both up, she said. You think they want you silenced, but they want me dirty, disgraced. Rhett frowned. They used us, she nodded, and we're both expendable. Footsteps echoed from behind. More Reapers, more coming, we need to move, she said. You sure I can trust you now? He asked. She smirked. I could have let it eat you. Good point. They ran. Together. Hours later, in a hidden alcove, deep in the underbelly of Varos 9, Rhett sat by a flickering heater while Nira patched her suit. Why'd you really spare me? He asked. She didn't look up. For the same reason. You didn't shoot me back there. And what's that? She glanced at him, her eyes softer now. Because sometimes one moment of mercy is louder than 100 shots. He looked down. At his hands, maybe she was right, but they were still hunted, still wanted, still not free. Yet now, they weren't alone. Rhett stared at the cracked datapad in his hand. The old device looked useless, screen burned, corners melted, but inside it was a file that could change everything. He handed it carefully to Nira. She scanned it with her console. The data was encrypted, ancient encryption, probably pre-war. This came from your squad? She asked. Rhett nodded. I found it in Sergeant Mora's boot after the ambush. He died hiding it. What's inside? I don't know, he said. But people are killing to keep it buried. They sat in a rusted shelter deep below Varos 9. No cameras, no drones, just the sound of leaking pipes and faint humming, power lines above. Nira worked on decoding the file. Her eyes flicked across layers of code. Rhett watched her hands move. Fast, precise, focused. You were military once, he said. She didn't look up. Still am. No, he said quietly. You're something else now, she paused. Then typed again, harder. Suddenly, click. The file opened. Lines of text and images flashed across the holoscreen. Black Ops records, names, coordinates, orders, and video. Rhett leaned in. His chest tightened as he saw it. Footage of his team, alive. Talking, preparing gear. Then explosions, screaming. A voice in the background, calm and cold. Send the signal. Cut the feed. Clean up the rest. The voice was familiar. Rhett's fists clenched. That's Commander Trask. Nira turned sharply. Your superior? He nodded. He ordered the op. Told us it was just recon. He lied. And now he's framing. You? She muttered. But why? She stared at the screen. Because he's selling the truth, and you? You're a loose thread. She flipped to another folder. Project Vesper. Subject: Human-AI hybrid integration status. Terminated. Leak risk: high. Kill order: activated. Rhett read aloud, confused. Hybrid integration? We weren't part of that. Nira shook her head. You were the cover. He looked at her. You were never the target. Your mission was a distraction, so they could erase the real experiment. Rhett felt sick. All my friends died. Just to hide this? Nira nodded slowly. A noise echoed above them. Boots, heavy, multiple. Nira killed the hollow instantly. They found us. She grabbed her rifle. Rhett checked his pistol. Still no ammo. Take the data and go, she said. You're staying? I'll hold them off. No, Rhett said. We do this together. They moved fast, through the back tunnels, crawling under rusted beams, dodging old cables. Behind them, footsteps followed. Then, blaster fire. Rhett ducked. Nira returned fire, hitting one of the black-armored agents in the neck. Who are they? He asked. Not bounty hunters, she said. These are Ghost Protocol soldiers. Government. Worse. Off-book. They reached a maintenance shaft. Nira opened the grate and slid inside first. Rhett followed. They climbed upward. Metal, rungs slippery, rusted. Halfway up, a hand grabbed Rhett's ankle. He kicked hard, then harder. The agent below didn't let go. Then Nira dropped her boot down, stomping the grip. The agent screamed, fell. Silence again. They emerged in an old service station above the slums. Outside, the air was thick with smog, but the stars were barely visible now. Rhett leaned against a wall, breathing heavy. Nira pulled the datapad from her pack. You need to get this off-world, she said. You're not coming? I'll cover your exit. They'll expect you alone. He stared at her. You don't owe me this. She looked at him just for a moment and said, I don't owe them anything either. Footsteps echoed again, closer, louder. Time to go, she said. Rhett hesitated, then nodded. He grabbed the datapad and ran. Nira turned to face the eye. Dark alley, rifle raised. As the agents appeared, she whispered to herself, You chose the wrong woman to betray. Then she opened fire. Gunfire echoed behind Rhett as he ran through the empty service streets. His feet slammed on wet pavement. His side hurt from breathing too fast. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. Nira was buying him time. And now, in his pack, he carried something powerful enough to bring down leaders, expose lies, and maybe get them both killed. He turned a corner and saw movement. 2 figures, not soldiers. Locals. One waved him over. You need help, stranger? Rhett slowed. Could be a trap. Could be worse. But he had no choice. Need a way off this planet, he said, gasping. The man pointed to a half-buried hover cycle. She'll run, but only once. After that, she's smoke. Rhett tossed him a small chip. That's all I've got. The man caught it and nodded. Fair trade. Rhett jumped on and hit the ignition. The engine coughed, then roared. He didn't look back. He sped off toward the city's edge, toward the old launch pads. He had one shot at freedom. Meanwhile, back at the alley, Nira stood alone against 5 heavily armed agents. Her rifle was almost empty. They circled her. You're outnumbered, one said. She smiled. Beneath her helmet, I'm still better. Then she fired. The first agent dropped. Clean headshot. The others fired back. Nira rolled behind cover, tossed a grenade, then ducked. Boom. 2 more fell. But then, click. Empty. Her rifle was dry. One agent rushed in, swinging a shock baton. She blocked, twisted his arm, and took his pistol in one motion. Bang. He dropped. One left. He was fast. His bullet hit her side, burned through armor. She fell to one knee, bleeding. The last agent raised his weapon. "This is for switching sides," he growled. Suddenly a loud crack rang out. His body jerked, then dropped. Behind him stood a small, shaky shadow, Rhett, holding a sniper rifle from one of the fallen. His hands trembled. "Looks like I'm not good at staying gone," he said. Nira gave a weak smirk. "Took you long enough." He ran to her and helped her up. "You're hurt. I've been worse." They both laughed, quiet, breathless, tired. They limped away from the alley and into an old garage nearby. Rhett pulled the metal door shut. She collapsed against a wall, blood seeping through her armor. "I'm not going to make it," she whispered. "You will," he said. "No, I slowed you down. You could have been off-world already." He looked at her, angry and worried. "Don't say that. You still have the data?" He nodded. "Then listen," she said firmly. "You finish this. You expose them. Promise me." He swallowed hard. "You're not dying." "I don't care if I die," she said softly. "Just don't let their lies live." He pulled a stim pack from his jacket and injected it into her arm. She gasped, then coughed. "Still hurts like hell," she muttered. "Good," he said. "That means you're still alive." Later that night, they reached the old launch zone. Rusty ships, dead lights. But one freighter still blinked. Green beacon. "That's our way out," Rhett said. Nira leaned on him. "What if they're waiting?" "Then we shoot first." She smirked. "And regret later?" He nodded. "Exactly." They moved slowly toward the ship. Rhett held the datapad tight. Inside was truth. Risk. Hope. Maybe even redemption. And next, to him, the alien who once hunted him now protected him. They had no trust in the world, but they had each other. The old freighter groaned as its ramp lowered, steam hissing from the worn-out hydraulics. Rhett and Nira stood at the bottom, both limping, both covered in blood and grime. The air smelled like burnt metal and engine oil. A short alien stepped out from the shadows inside the freighter, gray-skinned, wide eyes, nervous fingers holding a datapad. "Name's Tilo," he said. "You got the credits?" Rhett nodded. "You got the ship?" Tilo grinned. "She flies, barely, but flies." Nira leaned close and whispered. "He's twitchy," Rhett whispered back. "Aren't all smugglers?" They stepped on board. The ship was small, old, and patched together with scraps from at least 5 other models. But it had a working core, and that's all they needed. Rhett guided Nira to a corner with an old medkit. She winced as he pulled off her damaged armor plate. The wound was worse than he thought. Burnt flesh, deep plasma cut. She met his eyes and said, "Don't look like that, I'll heal." He nodded silently, though he wasn't sure. Meanwhile, Tilo walked into the cockpit and locked the door. He tapped his communicator. "Target aboard. Uploading location now." On his screen, a blinking red dot pulsed. Far away, someone was watching. In the ship's back hold, Rhett pulled the datapad from his bag. "We need to send this now," he told Nira. She nodded weakly. "There's an old comm booster under the main console. Might still work." He climbed up toward the cockpit, searching. Tilo sat in the pilot's seat, pretending to check the systems. "Need access to your booster," Rhett said. Tilo's eyes twitched. "Not working. I'll fix it. Touch it and you break it more." Rhett narrowed his eyes. "You're stalling." Tilo smiled, but it was fake. Then he pulled a hidden blaster. "Sorry, friend. Orders are orders." Rhett ducked behind the wall as Tilo fired. Sparks flew. Down below, Nira heard it. She forced herself to stand, grabbing the pistol Rhett left for her. Her vision blurred, but she pushed forward. Rhett grabbed a heavy wrench and flung it toward Tilo. It missed, but the noise gave him enough. Time to tackle him to the floor. They wrestled. Punches, elbows, the blaster scraping the floor between them. Tilo bit Rhett's arm. Rhett headbutted him in return. Then, a shot. Tilo froze. A red hole burned through his back. Behind him, Nira stood, one hand shaking, the pistol smoking in her grip. "I told you," she muttered. "I'm not that easy to kill." Tilo fell forward dead. Rhett helped her sit down, breathing hard. "You should have stayed put." "And missed the fun?" she joked weakly. He smiled. "You always show up late." "I always show up." They found the booster. It still worked. Rhett connected the datapad and sent everything, files, recordings, names, into the system. He didn't know who would read it, or if it would be blocked. But it was out. The truth had left Veros 9. As the ship left the atmosphere, Rhett and Nira sat in silence, watching the stars stretch across the window. She looked at him. "You know they'll hunt us now more than ever." He nodded. "Let them." "You really think truth changes anything?" "No," he said, "but it starts something." She leaned back and closed her eyes. "I hate starts." He smirked. "I love them." Far behind them, a screen blinked on, inside a hidden control room. Commander Trask watched the transmission begin. He didn't panic. He smiled and whispered, "Protocol backstab activated." The freighter soared through silent space, engines humming low. Inside the dim cabin, Rhett stood at the window, eyes on the stars, one hand resting on the edge of the console. Beside him, Nira lay stretched on the bench, wrapped in a thermal blanket. Her wound had stopped bleeding, but she was still pale. Rhett looked down at the blinking console. Transmission complete. Message received by unknown source. He didn't know if the truth would save anyone, but someone out there now knew. Suddenly the ship's lights flickered, then dimmed. Rhett tensed. "Not good," he muttered. He moved to the cockpit. Warning lights flashed red. An alert read, "Incoming ship detected, unidentified, fast approach." He grabbed Nira's shoulder gently. "Wake up, they found us." She opened one eye, groggy. "Already?" They must have tracked the signal. He pulled open the weapons locker. 2 rifles, 1 pistol. "Pick your poison," he said. She stood slowly. "I'll take the loud one." Outside the window, a black warship slid into view. No markings, silent, predatory. Then, a voice crackled through the ship's radio. "Human, alien, your stolen data ends here. Surrender now, and your deaths will be painless." Nira rolled her eyes. "They always promise that." Rhett smirked. "Let's not find out if they're lying." They strapped in as the enemy ship fired a grappling pulse. A loud clang shook their freighter. Boarding hooks latched on. Enemy troops would breach in seconds. Rhett looked at Nira. This was never supposed to happen. She leaned her head close, her voice calm. No one ever changed the galaxy by doing what they were supposed to. They nodded. No regrets. The side door burst open. 6 armored soldiers stormed in. Nira fired first, explosive rounds scattering. The front ranks. Rhett ducked and fired from behind cover. 2 went down. The others kept pushing. They moved like machines. No fear. No emotion. Nira took a shot to the shoulder but kept firing. Rhett's rifle jammed. He tossed it aside and used the pistol, but the soldiers were closing in, too close. Then, bang. Everything stopped. The last soldier dropped, his helmet cracked open. 1 clean shot to the forehead. Silence, then footsteps. A new figure stepped through the smoke. Tall, human, cold eyes. Commander Trask. He wore a custom combat suit and carried a sleek energy pistol. Rhett froze. Nira's jaw clenched. "You," she whispered. Trask smiled, slow and cruel. "Did you really think it would end with files and a message?" He raised the pistol. Rhett stepped forward. "Leave her out of this." Trask tilted his head. She was always in this. She chose to turn. She chose right, Rhett said. Trask sighed. Shame. Then he fired. The bolt hit Rhett in the stomach. He collapsed instantly. Nira screamed, rage and pain twisted into one. She charged, screaming, gun blazing. Trask dodged, fired once, hit her side. She stumbled but didn't stop. She tackled him. They crashed to the floor, struggling, shouting, then... click. She ripped his pistol from his hand. Trask looked up at her. Furious, unarmed, she pointed it at his head. His voice was calm now. Any last words, soldier? Nira narrowed her eyes. Then she looked at Rhett, barely conscious, bloody, and whispered, Yeah. She pulled the trigger. Safety's off. Bang! Trask went still. Dead. She crawled to Rhett's side. He was barely breathing. Nira. He whispered, Did we do it? She nodded, tears in her eyes. Yeah, we did. He smiled faint. Then everything went dark. 3 weeks later. Across dozens of systems, secrets leaked. Names, documents, proof of war crimes. People protested. Leaders fell. Justice began. And somewhere in a quiet place, a woman with a scar across her side and tired eyes stood beside a grave marked Rhett, fallen hero friend truthbringer. She placed her hand on the stone. I kept your promise, she looked to the stars. And I'll keep fighting.